All right, everybody, welcome into the Pillow Talk edition of, Pugs and Company. That's right, no Parker tonight. Parker's got other plans. Parker's plans preceded performing profoundly, presently, and here. I ran out of P's. You know, anyone who knows the show knows that I like the P alliteration. All right, this is the second of two streams that I do each and every day. The first one comes on at noon, the high noon show. We do that each and every day, noon till whatever, typically 2:30, somewhere like that. It depends on what's happening because the noon show is all about topics, hot topics, headlines, current events. If people are buzzing about it, if it's happening online, if it's something that's making headlines and the pundits are, all talking about it, then we're going to cover it there on the noon show. It's essentially a cheat sheet for you so that you know every little stupid thing that's happening in the world. One caveat to that. We don't do politics. We don't talk about the president. We don't talk about the former president. We don't talk about red and blue. We try to stay away from all of the divisive nonsense that has destroyed talk radio in America. There is just no fun listening to talk radio anymore. I used to be a big fan of talk radio. I was a big fan. I used to love it back when it wasn't all about who did you vote for? Oh God, really? Nobody cares, dude. Nobody cares. So that's what the high noon show is. Please join us. We hope you will. This Pillow Talk, this is a little bit less structured. This show, it's 1 hour. We do it at 9:00 every night, Central Standard Time. And I don't know what to tell you about it. It's typically me and James Parker, and we just we do nonsense. We just do whatever the hell we want to talk about. It's conversational. We do tend to get into topics a little bit more in depth. We spend a little bit more time on things. Like some shows, we might just do one topic and it's just me and him talking about it, not arguing, although sometimes we argue. It's another one of my rules. One of the things that I think have just absolutely destroyed radio is, okay, well, if you think this, then your partner's got to think the opposite and you guys got to argue about it. You can't agree. No, nobody wants you to agree. They want you to fight. Oh, stop it. Hey, hang on a second. Let me see something really quickly. A couple of things that I want to get into. Again, this is me by myself today, so deal with it. Deal with it. No Parker. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Here I want. God, my glasses are dirty. Oh my God. Hey, John. Hey, Jeff. Hey, Will. Hey, Ed. Missing your background. What does that mean? What? Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Here, let me see if I can fix that. I'm gonna do this one. I don't know what the hell that was. That was wrong. There we go. Those are background. There we go. How about that one? There you go, Ed. I like that one. Or do I like this one? You know what? It did look strange, Ed, but I didn't even, I was just like, something looks weird. That's all right. We're just going to do the show anyway. Whoa. So, since last we talked, Jefferson Glenwright says, is Parker too ashamed to show his face after revealing his ignorance of prominent 70s music? That was really shameful, wasn't it? I mean, that was wildly shameful that James Puddinghead Parker had no recollection or awareness of Crosby, Stills, and Nash. I just don't know how to deal with that. I don't. I don't know how to process that because it's shocking to me that the guy was able to go. Oh, Jeff, did you get to listen to it? I know you said you weren't available last night, so you didn't get to hear the show last night. And you said that you might go back and listen to it. I'm not sure if you did. It sounds like you did. Okay, so we'll just say that you did. He could go deep on Huey Lewis and the News and Hall & Oates. Knew nothing about Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And then when I was playing him some songs that anyone would recognize, he was doing a bit. It's got to be a bit. I was playing him major contributions to the Great American Songbook. And he was just like, yeah, I never heard of that. It sucks, though. I don't. No, I know you fell asleep yesterday, Jeff. You said today that you were going to listen to the show after the noon show. You said you were going to roll right into it. All right. I had a situation with my kid today. I love my kid. Don't get me wrong. He's like the most awesome kid in the world. That's right. He's better than your kid. I'm saying it. My kid is better than your kid. I believe that with all of my soul. Don't bring me cute pictures of your darling little princess or whatever. My kid's better than yours. That's all. There we go. We're end of discussion. He fell asleep again. He's on pain meds. Jeff's having a rough go of it. He's having a rough time. So, Sybil, our dear and lovable Sybil, she posted something earlier today. Here, I'll show you. I'll pull it up for you. If you remember Sybil, former cohort there on the old Pugs and Kelly show back in the day. She was our executive producer and whatnot. Sybil post here. Well, I might as well just put up the entire post, right? Why not? Here, I'll share it with you. She posted this today, and she tagged me, and she tagged Kelly, and she tagged John Cena. Here it is. All right, so this is what the lovely and talented Sybil posted earlier today. Timely throwback Thursday for WrestleMania in DFW with John Cena, Pugs and Co. And hey, it's me, Kelly, and an old clunky TV. Here, we'll make it bigger. Oh my goodness. Sorry, folks. I'm dealing with a little bit of sudden onset hiccups. If you listen to the show, you know that I occasionally get hiccups, and I have mastered the art of being able to beat hiccups. Little trick I learned back in college, back in a broadcast class in college. And it works. It works for me. Problem is, it's hard to do on the air. It's hard to do without copious amounts of dead air, but we'll get through it. All right, so now back to the story. So Sybil posted this on Twitter today. And my son, my 12-year-old son, is a huge John Cena fan, a really big John Cena fan. And I had told him over time, every time he goes, John Cena did this, John Cena did that. He's just a little boy, and that's something. Now, he's not a little boy anymore, but when he was a little boy, he used to talk like that. And every time I'd go, I've hung out with John Cena. I know John Cena. I've interviewed John Cena a number of times. Tell me one time we were with him backstage at WrestleMania. You were backstage at WrestleMania. I'm like, yeah, oh, sure. Just trying to impress the kid, as all fathers are wont to do. So I send him this picture today with the text, see, I told you I know John Cena. It shouldn't be this difficult to impress a 12-year-old, but do you know what he sent back to me? He sent back a text. You're a liar. I'm like, what? What do you mean I'm a liar? I just sent you the picture. How am I lying about this? And this is how, excuse me, I'm battling these hiccups. This is becoming a problem. And this, so he calls me, right? He calls me a liar on text. And then my phone rings, and he calls me, and he says, he goes, you promise that's not phony. And I go, what do you mean phony? Guys, I'm sorry. I'm dealing with something here. This is where it's always good to either go to a song or have a partner. Hold on. I'm trying to tell this damn story. Did you think the screen froze maybe for a second? I was just like trying to completely steady my breathing rhythm. All right, let's just pretend the show starts at 15. Okay, let's just give me a minute here. I'm sorry, guys. This just came out of nowhere, and it's like it's probably because of my crazy diet. You see, hiccups are caused by a disruption in your preferred breathing rhythm. And in order to fix your breathing rhythm, you have to purposefully disrupt it again. And then essentially reboot. You got to basically reboot your breathing rhythm. And that's what I'm trying to do. Oh, this is awful. I apologize. Hey, do you guys watch that stream where that guy just tries to beat the hiccups live on a stream? That's a great stream. I promise I got a whole bunch of stuff we're going to get to tonight. I promise. I'm fully prepared. Oh, I think we're good. Okay, so tuned in late, and I have no idea what's happening. I was overcome by hiccups momentarily, April. I was trying to beat the hiccups. I'm sorry. It's not a panic attack. It's not a panic attack. I don't have panic attacks. I don't suffer from anxiety to that. Oh, look at Jeff Glenn trying to scare me. I don't think is that hiccups? Is that hiccups or is that I don't know, heart attack? I don't know. What when you're supposed to scare somebody? You're supposed to scare somebody with hiccups? Maybe that'll do it. All right, so back to the story. So Sybil today posts this thing on Twitter, an old picture of the old show Get Together with John Cena. My son, my 12-year-old son, big John Cena fan. I always used to tell him, I know John Cena, and I don't think I ever bought it. So here it was, and I have no pictures. That's a really big issue for me. I don't know what I was thinking. Like everything, I didn't appreciate anything that I was doing back when I was doing things that were interesting. Like I had no view down the road that maybe in 15 years you might want to look through these pictures again. You might want to see these things. Thankfully, the other people around that were involved with the show seem to have a lot of pictures. And from time to time they post them. And every time they do, I'm thrilled. I'm like, look at those pictures. Cody has a lot of pictures. Our old friend Will has a lot of pictures. I think Sybil has a lot of pictures. But here's one picture that Sybil shared today for Throwback Thursday of the entire old show with John Cena. Now, I was trying to impress my son. I sent him the post. I sent him the picture. And I said, see, I told you I knew John Cena. And he called me a liar on text. And I was like, what do you mean liar? So then a couple of minutes later, not a minute, just very briefly after he sent the liar text, he calls me and he starts giving me the third degree. Like he doesn't believe me at all. Like he's so skeptical. And it dawned on me that he lives, my son, our children, all of our children, they are growing up in an era where nothing is believable anymore. Nothing. They have no faith in anything. And I'm not just talking about the word. I'm not just talking about me telling him because that should be good enough. I'm his dad. He should believe me when I tell him that I know John Cena. And he didn't. And then he said to me, he was dead serious. I thought he was kidding because it would seem so absurd to me that he would be like, that's not real. Ha ha. He thought April Fools, which I suppose is fair. We are on the eve of April Fools, a holiday I absolutely despise, but we talked about that today on the High Noon Show. And then he told me, he goes, okay, well, you can do anything with Photoshop. And I don't know, it doesn't really look like you. And I'm like, 15 years ago. I go, it's why it doesn't look like me. It's what I looked like 15 years. Look at me. Look at that. It's obviously me. And he's like, okay, it's you. And he goes, but it could be a deep fake. And I went, oh my God, a deep fake. Dude, you are the one who has to work the smart TV because I'm not good enough to really figure out how to make the smart TV work the way it's supposed to. You know more about that shit than me. Do you honestly think that I am capable of creating a deep fake to impress you? And he goes, okay, if you swear it's real. I go, I swear it's real. And he goes, because I want to show my friends. And I went, victory. That's what I wanted. I didn't think in a million years that he'd be bringing this picture around and showing his friends, saying, look how cool my dad is, or whatever. It could go worse. I know that's not necessary. That's how I dream it's going to go down. It could end up at him showing his friends at the lunch table and them commenting on Kelly's boobs or how weird his dad looked. It could go bad, is what I'm saying. But in the way that I have now visualized it, I'm gonna be a bit of a cool guy there at a lunch kids table for a couple of minutes tomorrow. Fingers crossed. But isn't that a thing? That kids today, and we have to sort of, I hadn't contemplated that kids today just have this complete lack of trust on things. Pictures, it used to be when we were kids, we see something. So there it is. I saw it. No, here's the picture. But now he's right. Everything can be photoshopped. Everything can be, deep faked. These are not things that we just trusted. And we trusted because they were real, because the technology didn't exist to do these things. Wilsey says there's no way they don't mention Kelly's boobs. I almost did, for Christ's sake. Yeah. Look how cute Sybil was. God, what a fresh-faced little cutie she was. And then there's John Cena. That's right. But he should be the focus of whatever the kids talk about tomorrow. But yeah, so my kid didn't believe me on that one. All right, what else? Let's run down some things. It is just me. There was stuff that I was going to do with Parker, but again, you got to save this stuff. You got to, if it's something that is perfectly designed to be, something that I want to drop in Parker's lap, because I think there's chemistry potentially there. You got to save it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to run through some things. We'll talk in the chat room. We'll spend a little time there. This will be a little bit different show than normal. But here, I wanted to talk about this. Here's something that I saw. This really got me going. Here, this is another thing that was tweeted out earlier today. And it made me a little bit upset. Made me not upset, just like, what the hell, dude? All right. Do you see this? Do we see this? Are we sharing this? All right. So it is Trans Visibility Day. And the subject of trans comes up a lot on this show. It comes up on this show far more than it probably should, considering, it's not like I'm being encountered by trans individuals all the time. I'm not. And it's almost, I don't know the last time that I saw, a normal trans person. And by normal, I mean one that wasn't like a male prostitute at the gas station where a whole bunch of prostitutes seem to hang out, which is weird, which makes me wonder about this Highland Park neighborhood and the rich guys that live here. Why are they hanging out there? I don't know. It's weird. But it's Trans Visibility Day, which is fine. And Beto O'Rourke, who is running for governor here in Texas, who I'm going to vote for. I'm going to vote for. I can't vote for Abbott. And I don't love everything about Beto O'Rourke. As a matter of fact, what you're going to hear in the next few minutes is what I don't like about Beto O'Rourke. I think he's a stupid politician. I think he is not stupid. He's a stupid politician, like all politicians are stupid. No, within the field of politicians, he politics stupidly. He does stupid things. He makes unnecessary errors. He just own goals. He is Mr. Own Goal, it seems. He does things that he doesn't need to do that he does, and they only blow back on him negatively. It's maddening. He seems like a nice enough guy, right? He does. But, and this is, if there was another candidate, I would look into it. And don't tell me about Huffines. That guy's crazy. That guy's like a fascist. That guy's nuts. That guy's even crazier. He's outright wing crazying Abbott, who I can't stand. I just can't stand Abbott. And look, honestly, in this election in Texas, I am a one-issue voter in his legalization of marijuana. And that's what Beto is pushing. Beto says that through the state legislature, and if that doesn't work, by gubernatorial executive order, he is going to legalize marijuana in the state of Texas, which, come on, we're such a cool modern state. No, what? Texas? What about all the hillbillies? No, look, don't tell me about the hillbillies who live in the middle of rural nowhere and they're crazy with their Bibles and their guns. I'm not talking about them. Texas is Houston. Texas is Austin. Texas is Dallas. Texas is San Antonio. Texas is big cities. Texas are large urban areas. And I don't think that the rest of the country recognizes that. They think when they conjure up Texas, they think of a guy riding a horse to the Walmart. It's like, that is not Texas. Yes, that is in some parts. Well, that's the real Texas. No, it's not. No, it's really not. There's like more people that live in the urban areas that live spread out all over. I mean, North Texas is booming. North Texas is a very modern metropolis. Houston is a very modern metropolis. So just, stop it with all of these old-timey, antiquated ideas of what Texas is. It's a very conservative state. It is a very Christian state. It is a very Republican state. But you know what? Before it was a very Republican state, it was a very Democratic state. So things change, things shift. That doesn't have to be. Why can't Texas just be one of them cool in the middle states? Why can't Texas just be like, yeah, there's some things on this side that are fucking crazy, and there's things on this side that are fucking crazy. Everything about Texas doesn't have to be freaking crazy on one side over the other. That's all I'm saying. I know very few people who fit the idea of what a typical Texan is to somebody in Connecticut, right? I know very few people like that. Well, I know very few people, so maybe that's the problem. But on Transvisibility Day, Beto O'Rourke decided to do a tweet running for governor in Texas, wearing this shirt. Don't mess with trans kids. It's a nice sentiment. I don't think that anybody. Oh, really? Yeah, actually, I guess there are people who want to mess with trans kids, and one of them is the governor of Texas currently. You know me, just leave them alone. Leave them alone. Let them be. Let them have their thing. Don't persecute them. You don't have to be mean. You don't have to be mean to people just because you don't understand life choices or what it is that they're going through. I don't understand what they're going through. I couldn't possibly. I am, for the most part, a normal. Oh boy, that's a buzzword you can't say. I am a traditional middle-aged white guy, right? I don't have any problem with trans people. I don't know many. I might individually have problems with people who happen to be trans, but as a group, it's not like I'm like, yeah, they need to all go to hell, right? So I think I've made that perfectly clear in the conversations that we've had about them. But here's my problem with this. I really want legalized marijuana in this state. And doing shit like this is not going to help this guy get elected. The trans community, the people who he is wearing this shirt for, is already voting for him. They are already in Beto's camp. They ain't voting for Abbott. That's the whole point. The Abbott is trying to, investigate parents and stuff like that. They're not voting for Abbott. And they're sure as shit not voting for Huffines or whatever if it does become a 3-person race during the general. I don't think it will, but whatever, it could. Why is he scoring an own goal here? He doesn't have to do this. He can add his stump speeches. He can make reference to how he's going to defend the trans community, and that's beautiful, and that's fine. Not against that at all. Who would be? He's going to defend a group of people who are getting kind of crapped on for no reason other than, people like to be mean. But this is nonsense. Here's who Beto needs. Beto needs Republican voters. He really does. He needs some Republican voters who are so disgusted with just the abject lunacy of Greg Abbott that they're like, maybe we just need to reset. Maybe we just need something different. Let's go over to this. And then they see this and they're like, oh man, that's a bridge too far. He doesn't need to do this. All this picture did for Beto O'Rourke's campaign is give people that he needs to lure over somehow with something. Maybe it's the weed thing. Maybe it's just that he's not Greg Abbott. But he needs to lure a small sliver of that voting bloc over to him. And this doesn't help with that. This doesn't. I think that shirt's great. Love the sentiment of the shirt. I agree with the sentiment. I'm already voting for you. And you know what? So are trans people. Trans people are already voting for you. What you've done is you have potentially turned off people who you need to vote for you. So stop being a stupid politician. Not again, it's not like all politics, not like politicians are stupid. No, again, within the grouping of politicians and how they make decisions on their campaigns, that's an own goal. That is a needless provocation of people that you don't need to be poking right now. Jeff says, what Pugs is saying is he should be wearing a Legalize It shirt. Yes! That, Jeff, is what he should be wearing. He should be wearing a shirt that says, because that's the bridge issue. All the polling that is done on cannabis legalization says that there are just as many Republicans in this state, just as many dudes. And I don't mean Republicans like, I'm Buford T. Snot Whistle and I'm running for Congress from the 4th District. No, I mean people who just habitually vote Republican. There are as many people who just habitually vote Republican in the state of Texas who are kind of okay, kind of want the legalization. That's the issue that he needs to be drilling down on. Not these ones. These ones are all the culture wars are how he's going to lose. The culture wars are how Abbott's going to stir up the people who very easily could be voting for him because of the weed thing, who now won't because they think trans people are going to watch their daughters pee. I don't, it's like that whole stupid, this is an own goal. Will says, I'm predominantly Republican and 100% agree with legalization. Yeah, yes, because it is a boon to the economies at both the local and the state level. That has been proven. Good Lord. I mean, it's just, there is absolutely nothing other than positive things that have come out of marijuana legalizations, no matter what all of the people who are against it. And by the way, don't kid yourself. The people who are against it are lobbies that are funded by the alcohol industry, because for some reason, the beer companies think that if guys can smoke weed, they won't drink beer, which to some extent is true. But guess what? Most people do both. Most people are going to have a beer and smoke a joint and watch Netflix. That's how it's going to go. It's not like people are going to stop drinking beer because now weed is legalized. All it's going to do is just make normal people who don't like to be hungover or who maybe don't like to, have to self-anesthetize with alcohol or prescribed pills, chemicals, putting in them. It's just going to give those people something that they can do that will stop them from feeling like they could go to jail at any minute. It's a stupid thing. And that's all. And that's what he should be doing. Beto O'Rourke should be wearing a Legalize It t-shirt. Everybody knows that you're going to be cool with trans kids. All right, so there you go. I just wanted to go off on that. Jeff says, that's the problem here in Iowa. Reynolds is an alcoholic, so she won't sign anything regarding legal weed and barely have medical. She needs to go, but the other candidates is a nightmare. Oh, yeah. Iowa's a tricky place, man. Iowa's tricky. I've spent a lot of time in Iowa. I like Iowa. Like people think Iowa's just cornfield. No, I've had some fun, man. I've had some fun at Iowa State. I've had some fun in Des Moines. It's not a nice drive, though. It's a cornfield drive, but all right, let's see. What else do we want to get into? Here's another interesting thing that I found that I wanted to make mention of here. This is another, I hate that this could potentially be another one of these culture war kind of situations, but a Texas student here in the state of Texas, she was a senior in high school at the time. So, she was a free-thinking young woman on the edge of adulthood. She has been awarded $90,000 by a school district. Mari Oliver is her name. A student at Klein Oak High School in Spring, Texas, has been awarded $90,000 from the school board. You know why? Because in 2017, she's a black girl. She's a black student, a young woman of color. Because in 2017, she refused to stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and she was punished by the school for it. now. And, it's been matriculating its way through the court system. And, you knew how this was going to end. You can't force that. That's indoctrination. That's not right. You hope that all the kids want to stand. And, I did my whole life before class. I didn't even think about it. It was just, this is what we do before we get to the awful book learning stuff. We stand here and we say, I pledge allegiance to the flag. I didn't really think about it, but we're in different times where the topic is being discussed. And she is a young Black woman who took exception to the under God part of it, which is her right as an American citizen to not be forced into reciting religious indoctrination. It's her right. I personally wish that she just go along. Just go along with it. What's the worst that can happen? Just keep your fingers crossed while you're doing it. That's what I would do. But it doesn't mean that what I would do is what everybody should do. And so the school district down there, they've got to give her. So here's what she did. She refused to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. So the teacher ordered her to write out the Pledge of Allegiance and sign it. Like, no, teacher, you're not getting my point here. I do not feel that as a citizen of the greatest country on earth that I should be forced to pledge allegiance to a flag that I personally feel has not represented me, my family, and that's a perfectly legitimate, very American way of standing up for your freedoms. That is what she was doing. And the school tried, you must do this. Private school's a different thing. In private school, they can have their own rules. It's a private school. You can force kids to do stuff like that. But not in a public school. Not in a public school. This is America. You got to understand what America's about. America is a country that grants you the right to not necessarily have to shout that you love this country or to think of the words pledge allegiance. A person of honor who truly has an issue with the way, again, she's a person of color, a person of honor who truly has an issue with the way she feels. Notice I'm accenting certain words. She feels this way, and she's an American, so she's allowed to feel this way. To pledge her allegiance to that country. If she feels that it hasn't necessarily represented, that doesn't mean, well, if you don't like it, go back. What? No, that's not what that means. What it means is, like, I love America. I love my country. I think it's the greatest country on earth. I'm so happy to have been born here. I'm so happy for my freedoms. I don't want to live anywhere else. I want to live here. I like it here. But that doesn't mean that I just pretend like this country throughout its 50-year almost plus history is infallible. I'm not going to pledge allegiance to a place that every 4 years elects a different guy promising different things. That's silly. You can love America. You can love what America stands for. You can love Jefferson and his idea of what America's promise was to the rest of the world without just being a complete sycophant, without just completely thinking that everything we do is perfect. I pledge allegiance to do whatever you tell me. No, that's about as anti-American as it gets. So she's getting $90,000. School board's like, they settled. They were like, look, please, it's starting to look like we're going to lose big in court. So here, you want $90,000? Here's $90,000. Jeff Glenn says, I'm sorry. Texas v. Johnson was flag burning. West Virginia v. Barnett was the pledge. And SCOTUS gave their opinion on Flag Day for extra emphasis. 90K is middle. Well, here's what 90K does for her. Okay, so obviously she's probably going to have to give a third to her attorneys because I bet they took it. This was by some big lobby group that gave her attorneys. So that means it's contingency. So that means that she's giving away a third of anything that was settled for. So she's getting $60,000 after taxes. What? Maybe $40,000, something like that. College. She's got college paid for. There you go. There you go. She refused to say, America, what a country. Now she's going to college for free. Because she stood up and utilized her God-given right, although not for her, because she doesn't apparently believe in God, but utilized her constitutional right to not have to pledge fealty to something that she doesn't believe in. I mean, imagine, I keep going back to, what if she truly is an honorable person and believes everything that she says? If you were to be a person like that, and then you were forced to pledge to something, that's a psychic crime. That's a psychic crime against an honorable person's soul. It is. A pledge means something to some people. I mean, as a kid growing up, when I said the Pledge of Allegiance, I meant it. I mean, I don't know that I was very honorable, but if we're looking at this in the abstract, it means far more than just, a combination of words. I pledge allegiance. The suggestion there is blind allegiance to whatever the current political power base says is the law of the land. I don't know if that's necessarily cool. I don't know. And again, I say this as someone who loves this country. I love that this country allows you to be that person. But again, if my kid found himself in this situation, I'd be like, oh, dude, just man, sometimes you got to play the game. Sometimes you got to play the game. So, fingers crossed. Just keep fingers crossed when you do it. And then that negates any violation of your honor code when it comes to pledging things and then not really meaning it. Fingers crossed. It's beautiful. It works every time. Here's something that I found interesting. So Bruce Willis is a big story of the last couple of days. 40,000. Have you priced college lately? You go to college for 40,000. Yeah, I have priced college lately. You can go to college for 40,000. You can't go to a fancy, expensive, private school, but you can go to college for 40,000. Are you kidding? Most kids don't have 40,000 for college. You might have to have a job, but you could definitely pay tuition at most normal college. Well, you'll get there. It's a nice start, Kenny. Now I'm thinking about some of the prices that I've seen. Kenny isn't wrong. It'll get you 6 years at junior college. Well, okay. There you go. We can't all be Harvard grads, Kenny. Some of us got to go to the junior colleges. Some of us. Let's see here. Oh, what else did I want to do here today? Oh, okay. So let me talk about this a little bit. So let me fly this one past you, folks. Been a bit of a moral conundrum. We're just talking about honor and honor codes and pledging to things that you maybe truly don't believe in with all of your heart. So I told you that I've recently rediscovered the FX show Snowfall, which is the story of how the crack epidemic started in America, and it follows 3 different storylines. There are the Mexican drug dealers that are tied in with the cartels through Colombia. And then there is the CIA, who is trying to fund a secret war in Central America. And then the third path that is followed is a drug dealer in South Central Los Angeles. A guy roughly based on the real life person, Freeway Rick Ross. And he became the kingpin of crack. He was the first guy to, get the recipe and figure out. And basically the situation was this. He was approached by somebody who was selling cocaine. This person who was selling cocaine, unbeknownst to him, was a CIA agent who was getting cocaine from Contra rebels in Central America. And then he was trying to flip the cocaine for money. And then with that money, he would buy guns from Iran in the Middle East, and he would give the Contras the weapons to fight their war against the Sandinistas and then communism in Central America. This was a creative way of funding a secret government war when the United States Congress refused to give Ronald Reagan his budget money for this action. Ronald Reagan openly wanted to support the Contras against the Sandinistas, and the United States Congress at the time, led by Tip O'Neill, said, no, we're not going to let you do that. So the CIA said, we got an idea. They got a whole bunch of cocaine down there. They could just give us cocaine. We will sell the cocaine, And then with the money we make for the cocaine, we'll just buy guns from the Middle East and then we'll give it. That's Iran-Contra. We've all heard about it. That's, part of what Iran-Contra was. But the cocaine, it was decided, would be sold in black inner city communities because they had to do this very secretly. The CIA was involved. This was the government involved in all of this. They didn't want, hey, if they had started to flood the lily white suburbs with cocaine in the 1980s, the authorities would get involved. The authorities would be like, where is all this cocaine coming from? They'd be like, all of a sudden there is cocaine everywhere. And there would be investigations. And the CIA knew that if they just flooded the poor neighborhoods with cocaine, nobody'd care. And be like, poor people, that's what they do. That's what those people do. They sit around and do drugs all day. But the problem was, they had all this cocaine. And so they approached all of these drug dealers, basically weed dealers in the hood. And the weed dealers were like, we can't move cocaine. People in the hood don't buy cocaine. Cocaine's expensive. Cocaine is something that rich people in the suburbs buy. So that was the problem. They couldn't sell it in the suburbs because that would draw too much heat from authorities, and then there'd be investigations. And, oh, you said it's the CIA involved. Yeah, the CIA was doing it secretly. CIA, DEA didn't know. Justice didn't know. This was a secret CIA plan to fund the Contras in Central America. So when the drug dealers said, man, I can't move this much cocaine. Ain't nobody in the hood buying this much cocaine. So that's when they were introduced to a process that was being done in Mexico on a very small scale, of creating crack cocaine, which was a cheaper, and you to get a kilo, and maybe with a normal kilo you would sell, I don't know, like this shows how little I know about drugs. You have a kilo of cocaine, maybe you could sell 100 bags of cocaine from that kilo to a bunch of white college kids, and it'd be 100 bags from that kilo. Or you could make it into crack and you could sell 10,000 rocks to like people on street corners. And that's basically where the whole crack epidemic came. So that's what the show's about, Snowfall. It's really good. It is so fascinating. And by the way, this stuff is not conspiracy theory. This stuff is all fact, And this is now, we are 40 years past the point where this all started, and enough people who were involved in it have had deathbed confessions, or the people who are responsible have died, and the other people have said, yeah, well, here's what they were doing. This is how it started. This is not even denied anymore at the highest level. It's just pretty much, yeah. I mean, certainly the idea of buying guns from the Middle East and giving them to the Contra rebels, that's not denied. So now where did the money come from? See, that's the thing. Okay. Yeah, no, we were buying guns, but you didn't have a budget to buy guns. Where was that money coming from? Well, that's another story. So that's what Snowfall's about. It's about all of those three things working together to essentially create the crack epidemic in America's inner cities. So I'm watching the show. It's so good. You'd really love it. It's on Hulu. John Singleton. It's like a legit, John Singleton is terrific. He's dead. He's terrific. So I'm watching this show, and the drug dealer in the hood is a guy by the name of Franklin Saint. He's like the lead kid. He's a good kid. He's a smart kid. He's got plans. He wants to make something of his life. So he starts a business. He starts a business in his hood. He doesn't care much for the law. He didn't give a shit about that. He's like, you gotta hustle to make it in this country. And to the rest of us, like I remember when this was going on. I remember I was a teenager, and you would see depictions of crack dealers being, put in handcuffs, and they're the worst. Oh, they're the lowest of the low. And then I started to think there was a talk. There was a conversation in the show where the question came up: are they really all that bad? Is what the crack dealers were doing, the selling the crack, was it not was it bad? Because I think the effects that it had on their community was undeniably bad. But is it uniquely bad? Or is it quintessentially American? I mean, isn't that was essentially the argument. You know, it was this black kid who said, you know, our people have been shit on for, 200 years of slavery, 100 years of Jim Crow, and then the New Deal, all these things about like the New Deal, things that we white people never learned in school and that we don't know. The New Deal only passed because it specifically excluded Black Americans. Do you know that? Did you know the GI Bill, when the GI Bill passed, specifically excluded Black Americans? Black American. That's why there was the Civil Rights Act of the 1960s. I know a lot of us white people don't know a whole bunch about that. But when the black kid says we have been shit on by this country for 200 years of slavery, and then after that 100 years of Jim Crow laws, and then redlining, and then the New Deal, and then the GI Bill. I mean, imagine that. We all talk about how great the GI Bill is and how the GI Bill is responsible for building the suburbs, for building the middle class. After World War II, oh my God, all of those soldiers, they came home who served so proudly for this country, and they were able to get these sweetheart deals on mortgages, and they were able to build their homes, and all of these new communities started to pop up all over the place. And guess who didn't get that? Black soldiers, specifically excluded by name. Redlining is another thing where you weren't allowed. Banks did not give mortgages to black families because white families wanted to own the buildings that they rented to black. That was a real thing. So in this little speech that he's talking about how, you call me a criminal, I'm really just a businessman in the greatest tradition of America. And it got me doing a little bit of research today. He's right. He's right. Do you know that the majority of the great legacy American billionaire families, whether we're talking about the Astors or the Rockefellers or they all started out as criminals. They all started out doing shit that was illegal, and then they amassed so much money doing these things that were illegal that they were able to go legit. They were able to, and it's so far ago that we don't remember this anymore. We don't get, I guess the greatest example is America's royal family, the Kennedys. The Kennedys they're so sophisticated and they're so elegant and well, we know without a doubt how the Kennedys got their money through bootlegging. They were the drug dealers of their time. They made money supplying illegal alcohol. When alcohol was illegal, the dirty Irish Kennedys were breaking the law as criminals, and they built up enough money to an illegal. So I went and I looked at a couple of other ones, right? So I decided, I'm like, okay, well, let's look at some of the most famous American families and let's see where they came. All right, here's a good one. This one comes right up. Okay, Wayne Huizenga, the late, great Wayne Huizenga. We all know Wayne Huizenga, right? Oh, Wayne Huizenga, he's a great example of an American. His family were immigrants. They came over here and they built up a multi-billion-dollar empire. Harry Wayne Huizenga, American businessman and entrepreneur, doesn't say criminal, American businessman and entrepreneur. He founded AutoNation and Waste Management and was the owner of Blockbuster Video, the Miami Dolphins, the Florida Panthers, the Florida Marlins. Wayne Huizenga. Wayne Huizenga got his start in waste management. But before that, Wayne Huizenga's family ran garbage routes on the south side of Chicago in the 1950s and in the 1960s. That was all mob controlled. That was all organized crime. You did not pick up garbage in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, even into the 80s, especially in Chicago, without being involved with organized crime. But that's how they made their money. And now Wayne Huizenga, Blockbuster Video, the Miami Dolphins, all of this stuff. I mean, come on. Steve Wynn. Steve Wynn, one of the largest real estate developers in the country. Steve Wynn, who basically built Las Vegas, he got his start in the 1960s being in charge of building and construction of casinos in Las Vegas. Who owned and ran the casinos in Las Vegas in the 1960s? Steve Wynn is crooked as fuck. And yet, oh no, he's a respectable businessman. Construction. Anybody in this country who is sitting atop a fortune because their family ran a construction company or their family built the World Trade Center or whatever it is, construction, completely illegal business. Illegal things were done, illegal bribes were taken, kickbacks, they bribed city officials. The construction industry in major American cities was also entirely ran and operated by organized crime. Banking. Talk about banking. We talk about all of these. We never put guys who make money. The banking industry is one of the most traditionally corrupt industries in the world. It's a bunch of guys making money off other people's money, and they don't do it by legal means. But, you get so powerful when you handle everybody's money that you're no longer a suspect in anything because, you're untouchable now. Wall Street, those guys are all breaking laws left and right, and they never get caught for it. So when I think back of the idea of a black kid who comes from nothing, who has this feeling that he's been shit on his entire life, and he's out there trying to build a business by selling drugs. Now, granted, selling drugs in your community ain't a good thing, but you know what? Selling booze to alcoholics like the Kennedys were doing wasn't a good thing either. It's wrecking their communities. There is no difference here. It's just such a I don't know how I feel about it. I just that dawned on me that, maybe I've just been programmed to think that any black kid that hustles, trying to get out from under, maybe that black, you just always you automatically think, oh, that's a dirty, horrible criminal who needs to be locked up in jail forever. Really? Or are they just doing what every other super wealthy family in this country? Now look, I've been I hate billionaires. I hate people. I think that you had to have done something wrong to amass that much money. At some point, you did something that ran afoul. But, when you're rich, you have lawyers and there's no responsibility for anything. You never have to be held responsible for anything if you can pay a lawyer to make an argument that's good enough that has people going, well, technically, I guess maybe. No. So, and the other thing that I started to think was, have we been brainwashed by the powers that be, the monolithic overlords that program us from a very young age, who force us to give our pledges of allegiance? And look, I'm not saying murderers, and I'm not saying going out there and just doing crime for kicks and being a crazy person and doing terrible things. I'm talking about people who engage in illegal activity in the pursuit of building a business in order to better their lifestyle. It is not something that is only unique to the minority communities of the last 40 years here in America. It is something that has happened the entire history of this country. And I'm talking about white people. I'm talking about how white people got their money. Most of them. And now there are some people who just, hard work and the American work ethic and all that stuff. But there's also a whole lot of them that didn't do it that way. There's a whole lot of them who got away with shit. And because they got away with it so long ago, we just completely forget about it. And now they are upstanding and highly regarded members of the international moneyed community. They've been cleaned of all of their guilt and dirt by legitimacy. So I started to think about the programming that we all go through. Work hard. Go to school. Pay your college a ridiculous amount of money. Get yourself a degree because then you'll get a job. Don't start your own business. Don't strike out on your own. Don't do your own thing. That's too risky. You want the security. You want to work 9 hours a day, 40, 50 hours a week for 60 years of your life. That's what you want to do because that's the respectable, honorable American way to do it. And in this show, there is a line where somebody goes, yeah, that's what the suckers do. And that hit me. I was like, whoa. Whoa. And that's the point of the programming. That's the point. That's why that shit is pumped into us from the time that we're kids. Well, you've got to do this and you've got to have security and you've got to do it for 60 years. And then you get to live on a trailer by the river and die and have your cats eat you or what, because your wife died 2 years early. You know, I mean, I don't know. There is a thought process that dawned on me where, is that the sucker's way? Is that the sucker? We all do it. We all do it, you know? I know a person who has a very comfortable life right now. Doesn't have to work, calls his own shots, beautiful home, beautiful family. And 30 years ago, this person was a criminal. This person was engaging in illegal activities. He made a whole lot of money engaging in these illegal activities, and he never got caught. And then he got out, and he had a big pile of money, and now he's just living like a responsible, respectable member of his community. And he is a responsible, respected member of his community. He's a good person. But he got this amazing life by being a criminal. And we are taught that that's the wrong way to do it. When we have the Kennedys and the Hizangas and we've got all of these titanic American families who are held up to us as the gold standard of how to do it, when that's not how they did it. They didn't do it by getting a job and working 9 to 5 and being miserable for 60 years and having one too many cocktails at night and screaming at their wives and being miserable and having no joy. No, they broke the rules. They broke the rules. They went outside the lines and they were rewarded fabulously for it. And that's what I got from watching Snowfall. And that's why it's a good show. No, it's too late for me. Now it's too late for me. My ship has sailed. Actually, that's not true. I'm watching this show going, I'd be totally willing to break the law. If I could just break the law and then maybe get like $5-6 million, I'd stop. I'd stop and I'd buy a condo somewhere. Jeff says you're talking about Parker, aren't you? No, Parker is a hard worker. He's a worker bee. He's got a family. He's definitely a middle class, blue collar, working class guy. Will says Pugs is trying to sell us pot. No, I'm not. Kenny J. Emil. Kenny said Emil. No, I actually was not thinking of Emil, but that's funny. His story's a little bit different, and I'll leave it up to him to tell his story. Actually, I think he has told his story, hasn't he? I believe he has. Let me see here. Let me jump into some of this. Ooh, a lot of people chiming in the chat room. I like that. I like that. There's a lot going on. Al says my cousin in San Antonio used to sell drugs and sometimes trade drugs for guns, and he would then sell the guns to the crooked border patrol agents here in Texas back in the 90s. Yes, this idea that, they're good. Everybody is an absolute. Everything is, you're either a good person or a bad person. No, and it's what I tell you about life in general. There's here and there's here, and everybody wants you to be either this or this. And the fact is that we're all somewhere in here. Now, that is not to excuse the behavior of some truly terrible people who are just some natural-born criminals. Those people exist. Those people have no bigger plan. Those people have nothing except the instant gratification of taking advantage of another person. That is not what I'm talking about. I am talking about the the way this country's wealth was built. Do you know how many people still have money from businesses that they built on the back of slave labor? Do you know how many? Now, that may not technically have been an illegal activity back then, but it is certainly as morally reprehensible as selling crack cocaine in the 1980s. Without a doubt. Oh, this 1,000-acre plantation has been in my hair family for 300 years. Yeah, beautiful home. What is this property worth? $50 million? Well, yes, it has been. Yeah, that 50. You didn't earn that 50. You didn't get that. God isn't happy with how you amassed that $50 million property that you're still sitting on. Acting like you're better than me with your tea parties and your judgments about the way working class people have to struggle. Your great-great-granddaddy Jebediah had 600 slaves that built the plantation that allows you to still live in this gorgeous home, this mansion on this incredible property. And we're all supposed to pretend like you did it the right way, like you're what we're supposed to try and be like? Please, we can't be like you. We're not allowed to break the law and get away with it. Leslie says, oh, stop. Pugs, you are creating a false narrative in this small group. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm sorry you feel that way, but that is absolutely not true. That is absolutely not true. The narrative that I'm trying to put out there is that just because somebody, now, you know what? I don't even want to go there. I don't even want to say that. But I'm not creating a false narrative. Not at all. I'm sorry that you are too overly programmed to truly understand that the people who made the money, the wealth that built this nation, did not do it by adhering to the programming that we are all force-fed. Try hard, work your way up the corporate ladder. No, that's not how it was done. It was done through a lot of really sketchy and some bullshit stuff. Go back and read what I posted earlier. I don't want to get taken down a road. But besides, we're done with that. Anyway, it was just a sort of an interesting thing that I started thinking about. Like, are criminals really necessarily that bad? And is it a terrible thing to break the law early in your life in order to build something better for you and your descendants? And I don't think it is. I really don't think it is. As long as you're just not abjectly victimizing innocent people. I don't know. I don't think it's any different than the way the banking industry in this country was built, or, the plantation system, or, the Kennedys, God forbid, the Huizengas. I mean, that's a crazy one, because Wayne Huizenga was this beloved rich guy who did it the right way through hard work in the waste management industry, which is run entirely from coast to coast by organized crime. Will C says, I hear you, man, but working hard is not a bad thing. Just because you're surrounded by criminals doesn't make it okay to join them. No, that's not what I'm saying either. Of course, working hard, work, anything that you're going to do, you should love what you do, and you should have a goal in mind, and you should work hard at it. I mean, imagine just being stuck in something that you hate doing, so you don't work hard, but you chose this path. I just think that we're all programmed to look at the way success is attained in a way that is not necessarily all of that honest with us, the way it's proposed. I think that we need to. I've just been really thinking about the prisons and the people we put in prisons and why they're in prisons, and they're in prisons, and why other people are on yachts, and selective prosecution, maybe. I don't know. Byron says, I play poker for a living. It's great. God love you, man. There you go. Live your life, dude. You could drop dead of a heart attack tomorrow. And you know what? Do you really want to be dropping dead of a heart attack tomorrow while wearing your company badge that allows you to pee in the place they tell you to pee in? Get out there, drop dead at a poker table with a smoke in your hand, knock over a drink, ruin the game for everybody. Just ruin it. Spill that drink all over the place. Leslie says, I've been killing myself for 6 days a week, 51 weeks a year for 23 years. Yeah, everybody has. You should talk to my mother. You should talk to my mother. That's a rough way to go. So you don't get upset when you see people like the Kennedy family acting like they're somehow superior because they did it. They built something. They didn't build what my whole point is that most of the wealth that was accumulated by the top 1% of the families in this nation didn't get there by working 6 days a week, 51 weeks a year. God bless you. That is you make a difference. Somebody's gotta. On small. God bless you. God bless you. You're taking this way too personal. You're not looking at this from a 30,000 foot view. You're not looking at the way, like my kid. I don't want my kid to have that life. I don't want my kid to have to work 6 days a week, 50 hours a week, for 60 years and then retire. I want my kid to find his passion and I want him to be able to pursue it. I don't want my kid selling drugs. That's not what I'm saying. But I just feel like we've been lied to. we've been lied to and we've been misled because you know what? Somebody's got to dig the ditches. And it seems like the people who understood very early on that we've been lied to are the ones who decided, yeah, I'm not going to dig the ditches. I'm going to let them dig the ditches and those are the rich people. And in today's in today's society, we have a 1% class, and that's what they decided to do 150 years ago. And also in today's society, we have a prison class, and it's another group of people who took that same path that the Astors took and the Rockefellers took and the Carnegies took and the Kennedys took. All of these people who made their money doing illegal things. Except they're in prison. The ones today are in prison because, I don't know. Just a interesting conversation with myself. An interesting conversation with myself. All right, let's get into some. I have this thing, top 10 businesses controlled by illegal activities, top 10 families who made their wealth. I don't want to go into that. I spent way too much time. But all of the names that I just mentioned are listed as big, respectable American families, brand names that initially got the seed money to start the company that made them legitimate through doing illegal things. Some of them were prostitution. Some of them were illegal gambling operations, organized crime. And again, we haven't even talked about the people who made all of their money off of slave labor and then they still have it today. They just, because they took all the money that they made when they had slave labor, and then they were like, oh, the slaves are gone? All right, we got all this money. Let's do something else. Let's open up 1,000 grocery stores. And now they're the grocery store magnates of America. It's just something that isn't necessarily, it's a new way of thinking about it. I'm not saying it's right. This is an intellectual exercise. What else? Oh, here's something. This was strange to me. I almost went into this before that little rant, but we'll talk about this now. So Bruce Willis, we all love Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis has the aphasia, and he's retired from acting. He's not going to be acting anymore. Aphasia is a neurological disorder that impairs your ability to communicate. It's like you can't talk, you can think, and you have all that. You want to say stuff, but you can't articulate it. It loses something between the thought and the articulation. Did you know that there's like a whole bunch of other big name celebrities who have aphasia, and like they've been kind of scarce for a couple of, like, some of these people, I'm like, oh, is that where they went? It's because they're suffering from this thing that Bruce Willis has, aphasia, which affects mostly people over the age of 60, and it's way more common than I think we know. Here, let me see if I can find these people. Give me a second here. I accidentally hit the wrong button. Terry Jones. All right, this is a good one. Terry Jones. Terry Jones, a member of Monty Python's. He has aphasia, and we haven't seen him in a while. Nope, I just hit the wrong button. That was the last one. I got to go back. It was one of those stupid articles where you got to click the arrow and it shows you the next one. And I went to the end. Okay, who's this one? It doesn't matter. She's too old. Randy Travis. Country music superstar Randy Travis suffers from aphasia. Can't speak. Randy Travis performs at the 2013 CMA Music Festivals, and it goes on to talk about his bad. He's also, Randy Travis also, if you remember, he get a bit of a drinking thing going on there. But hey, he's got other problems. Suffers from aphasia. Dick Clark. Dick Clark had it. When Dick Clark finally passed away and he had sort of been missing in action for about 5 years, Dick Clark was suffering from aphasia. Gabby Giffords, the congresswoman from Arizona who was shot and suffered brain injury, severe brain injury after being shot. One of the things that she suffers from is aphasia, where she can't speak properly. That's much of the time it's the result of a head injury of some kind, but it can also just be brought on by itself. Kirk Douglas suffered from aphasia. Patricia O'Neill, the actress, suffered from aphasia. Harold Robbins, the author, suffered from aphasia. And this was one, here's a strange one. Emilia Clarke, Khaleesi from Game of Thrones. Emilia Clarke, the actress, suffers from aphasia, although it's not a really heavy, serious case. Emilia Clarke, in a scene from Game of Thrones, blah, blah, blah. Clarke played Daenerys Targaryen. Emilia Clarke survived 2 brain aneurysms after finishing the first season of the show. I had no idea that she went through a brain injury. The first aneurysm left her with acute aphasia. Emilia Clarke is now 35. She takes medication, so it's not as bad for her. But I mean, I did not know that about Emilia Clarke, that she had this brain injury. Now, here's one that she disappeared. We haven't seen her in a while, and it's because of this. She didn't have the big reveal like Bruce Willis did, where everybody's, Sharon Stone. Sharon Stone has been diagnosed with aphasia after suffering a brain aneurysm herself in 2001. She experienced severe speech issues. She had to learn to talk again and continues to this day to speak in a jaunted, staggered way with an ongoing stutter. I can't remember the last time I heard Sharon Stone speak. I can't remember the last time I saw Sharon Stone speak, but apparently she also has aphasia issues. Oh man, that'd have be a bad one. That's not one that I want to deal with. Hey, let me say this, Leslie. Since we're fighting today, it's good to have you back. I missed you. We all missed you. We missed your presence. We missed fighting with you in the chat room. That's gonna do it. We're gonna call it a show. Hey, I only had 800 calories today, and guess what? I probably am not going to eat anything else because I'm tired. I think I'm going to go to bed. Today, I bragged about on the High Noon Show. I bragged about how, oh yeah, I'm only doing like 900 to 1,000 calories, and it's not affecting my runs at all. I'm not eating, and it's totally fine. I'm running on 0 gas in my tank, and it's not affecting me at all. Oh, it kicked my ass today. It caught up with me today. I got like 1.5 miles into my 3-mile run today because I'm doing the fasting thing. I'm not eating anything until like 6 o'clock at night, and then I'm eating one meal with like 600 calories, and then having a snack for like 300 calories. Trying to keep it under 1,000 calories. Oh, I died at 1.5 miles today, and it was such a weird phenomenon. I started to feel really shaky, and I started to feel like, oh my God, I have no gas in this tank. There's no way I can do another 1.5 miles. And I didn't. I only did 2 today. So I guess I'm going to have to go back to eating something after the noon show and before I go out for my run. I'm going to have to put a little something in my tank. Okay, I tried. I thought it would be a wonderful way for me to expedite my weight loss issues, but it's not. I'm going to have to eat something. Have like a salad. Maybe a can of tuna fish, something. I'm going to have something before I go for my run. It's the first day in 2. Oh, I don't want to lie. Don't lie. Don't lie. You didn't run on Sunday. I know. I was going to say it's the first day in like 2 months that I haven't. I've missed, but I've been really good with my runs. I will say that. Been really good. Proud of myself. Because I am a lazy son of a bitch. Let me tell you, folks. Night, Kenny. Yeah, I know, Sally. I know. I'm purposely screwing up my metabolism. I'm actually following a thing that I've done in the past. I'm not saying you're wrong, Leslie, because it's not very healthy, but it does help me. Yeah, I'm doing very small amounts of carbs. But I'm not like doing. I will tell you this: that old Atkins diet, boy, I used to do that back in the day. That thing works like a charm for me. Atkins, I could be on Atkins for like 2-3 weeks and drop 20 pounds and be like, holy shit, does this diet work? Well, here's the problem. Ticker. I can't eat just copious amounts of red meat all the time. That's not good. So I'm kind of doing a vegan thing. I'm doing a whole lot of vegetables, no fruits, no sugars. Vegetables. Turkey, chicken breast, tuna. What else am I doing? Eggs. I had a really kick-ass omelet today with green peppers and jalapenos and mushrooms. No cheese, though. Whatever. Didn't really miss it, though. Didn't miss the cheese because I used salsa. I put a little salt. You know what I learned about salsa? I was always worried about, I don't want to add the salsa because it'll be fat. There's like 15 calories in salsa. There's like no calories. Salsa's awesome. Yeah, I'm doing lean proteins. No red meats. Fish, but fish in the terms, not doing a lot of fatty things, not doing a lot of dairy, Byron. No cheeses. Eggs. That's pretty much the extent of my dairy. Because I love me some eggs. Well, I used to love to get high and run in the woods. I used to love that. You put on some music and, you run in the woods on a running trail. Oh, my God. That is the absolute best. Love it. Yeah, Kevin, jalapenos absolutely go on eggs, and so does Tabasco. But I have this really nice spicy salsa that I like. So I don't use, you know what I use Tabasco on? I use Tabasco on my hard-boiled eggs. My hard-boiled eggs get a little bit of garlic salt, and then they get dunked in Tabasco. Things are going good. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. We'll talk tomorrow at noon. That's it. I got nothing else. We didn't miss Parker today, did we? Well, kind of. Would have been nice to have somebody to talk to, so I didn't talk myself into some trouble, which I think I may have done on a couple of things I said tonight. But whatever. We live, we learn. See you tomorrow, folks. I'm going to bed. I'm tired.